Welcome to this special edition episode of the podcast to celebrate the launch of the You've Got This book. Today, you can hear the behind the scenes chat I had with the incredible Joanna Jensen, who is the founder of Child's Farm. She founded the company via property and investment banking when her daughter's eczema and the inability to find anything to help it changed her life trajectory. She scaled the company to become the leading baby and child toiletries company, and she sold a significant share of this in 2022. Now, Joanna puts a lot of her time and energy into supporting female founders with their endeavours and has an incredible portfolio of companies that she's invested in. In addition to all of this, Joanna is chair of EISA, which stands for the Enterprise Investment Scheme Association. Joanna is absolutely incredible. I think you're going to really, really love this podcast. Enjoy. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to speak to me. So there's a few subjects that I don't know if any of these particularly resonate with you. Obviously, your journey building Child's Farm is amazing. I've been reading all about it. So some of the subjects in the book, there's, God, I don't know how many chapters, about 18. And do you have any thoughts around kind of confidence and self-belief when you either start a business or when your business starts to go through changes? Because obviously your business grew a huge amount from a kitchen table business to solve a problem to a significant business that you sold a really significant amount in as well.
There's a lot of people say anyone can do this, and I disagree.
Okay.
I think there is a mindset that needs to be achieved to be able to put yourself out there, because you're putting a lot at risk, and that takes an inordinately huge amount of confidence. Where that confidence comes from is, you talk to founders all over the place. There are so many influences in people's lives. And I think without that resilience, without that strength of character, without that self-belief, it's nigh on impossible to achieve great success. And for that, I mean anything from business success to sporting success. I think these are the same principles that apply, that self-belief. I can do anything. I've got on my computer a quote from Walt Disney: if you can dream it, you can do it. The power of the mind is everything.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that.
Did you always have that inbuilt belief, or was that something that you had to work on?
I think I've always had it. I think I was born with it. It was nurtured through a very critical childhood, in so much as I was never praised. I was always critiqued, not particularly constructively. So my psyche was one where I just had to keep going till I got it right, or someone said, well done.
Sure.
And I think that, which is why you find a lot of founders have come from, broken homes or from difficult circumstances. I think it's you have this, you suddenly realize I got to rely on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And because nobody else is going to do this for me, no one's going to scoop me up, no one's going to, make it all better. So either I sit and feel sorry for myself and say it's not fair, or I get up off my arse and get on with life. But I think it's hard to become a glass half full person. Okay. I think that is just within our psyche. I've also got a theory that it's very hard to be a first child and achieve all of that, because parents put so much mollycoddling around a first child, whereas a second child, a third child, or a fourth child tend to be a bit more robust because we're more comfortable in what we're doing.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Do you think, though, that although it obviously helps to have that, maybe we've been raised that certain way, depending on the journey you take in life, there will be times when anyone thinks, oh, I don't quite know what I'm doing here, or you do have a bit of a lack of belief. But then at what point does your kind of what do you do in those situations? Because I'm sure that with your business, obviously you haven't run a business like Child's Farm before. There must have been times when you thought, I don't quite know the answer. I don't quite know how to overcome this challenge. How did you deal with?
I asked endless questions. I was completely shameless. I sought out people who had done things before, who'd worked in FMCG. I literally was a sponge, and I asked question after question after question after question. And if I didn't understand the answer, I would stick my hand up and say, no, I really don't understand. Why are you saying? I was relentless in my pursuit of understanding every aspect of our business. And I, right, because at the beginning, for the first few years, I did everything.
Right.
So I couldn't delegate to the dog. Can you sort out this issue on Sage accounting process? Because the dog wasn't very good at Sage. So I had to, I had to learn. And I mean, we used to joke. I had a friend's daughter work for me for 3 years, actually, straight out of uni. We used to joke that we knew everyone at the Sage help desk, because we probably spent between, I don't know, 5 and 10 hours a week on the phone to them. So much so that when we brought in proper bookkeepers, we knew all the shortcuts on Sage. They didn't.
Oh, wow.
Because we had constantly said, we don't understand. How do you do this? Why do you? We were relentless in our pursuit of understanding how to do the basics. If you don't understand your foundations, you can't build a solid building. And that was my approach. And what I loved about my staff and the people that we picked, they were all intellectually curious.
Yes.
And without that, I think you can be stumped.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the chapters in the book talks about, when you start on this journey, a lot of people have a lack of resources, whether that's time, money, or knowledge. And there is that, rather than saying, oh, I don't know, I'll never find out, is I don't know, who knows, and how can I get that knowledge and develop that? And that is very much a mindset, isn't it?
Yeah. If you've got, without intellectual curiosity, we wouldn't have the brilliant businesses that we have, particularly in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And, you go back generations from the Industrial Revolution, and people would see, the jacquard loom over there, and they'd say, oh, I see what they've done. Let's buy one, take it to pieces and make our own, but better. And I think that's something that we underestimate as a culture. This country, I mean, is extraordinary in our culture and our ability to do amazing things. But because we're British, we don't acknowledge that they're amazing. We just sort of say, oh, anyone could have done it. They couldn't. We've had some extraordinary minds.
You said earlier that when you start your business, especially I think when you scale your business, you have you do put a lot on the line. Did you ever have any sort of fear of failure or anything like that as you were growing your business?
I think I was fundamentally terrified the entire time.
Okay.
And it wasn't because I was doubting my capability. I wasn't doubting others' capability. I was fearful for how much of my life, and for that I mean by extension that was my children as well. I was a single parent. I had no income. I was living on my wits. And that, I think there was always this underlying fear. Is fear the right word? Just this underlying current of, it's got to work, this has got to work. But I 100% believed it was going to be successful. So it's sort of quite perverse. And then it became like you've got this gorgeous china vase that you're carrying around and everyone's going, oh, you are so clever, you are so clever. And you were terrified about dropping it.
So actually, it wasn't just the fear of failure necessarily when you started. It was actually when you had this amazing business.
When I had it, I think I think I was fine when I started. It's when I created what I created, you hear endlessly these stories of people who missed the boat by, think of the dot-com crash, and think of the tulip fever. Let's go back for time immemorial, the 1987, Black Monday. All of these things happened. There were people who were the right side of the trade, and there were the people that were the wrong side of the trade. And I felt really, for when we, after our massive growth, 2017, 2018, whilst we were continuing to be really bolstered, we had a couple of hiccups, and it's like I was holding my breath.
Wow, okay.
And it was like I held my breath for about 4 years.
Gosh.
And because I didn't want to go backward, I knew I had to continue to go forward. But when you're growing triple digit growth, we went from 500,000 to 2.5 million to 8 million to 17 million, whatever it was, these huge, great steps. You then suddenly think, shit, what if we go backwards? Because how much room is there really, in our case, for a business that's selling to babies and children, when your birth rate is going down and you've got a limited audience in any case because you're appealing to babies and children, although we then subsequently were appealing to adults with sensitive skin. You are looking at all those statistics about how big your potential market is, and you're just questioning, are we getting to those people? Are we doing the right things to get to them? And then, of course, the pressure from your shareholders comes upon you, because they can see the winning post.
Yeah.
They're looking at the winning post. You are trying not to look at that winning post, because actually you've got to focus on all of those building blocks to your success. It's there, but you don't want to be caught looking at it and not making sure you've done your training.
Yeah.
And that you're making sure all those blocks work. Does that make sense? It's sort of slightly...
No, it doesn't. It's interesting that I think sometimes people think of fear of failure at the beginning of their journey, or will it work, won't it work? Whereas actually you've said the first bit wasn't too bad. It was when I had a thing that had so much potential, and I was terrified of it not getting there.
Reaching its potential.
Yeah.
And it was this sort of some act of God, some random event would rob me of the success. And there is an irony there, that when our final bids came in was the day that Putin invaded Ukraine.
God.
So, careful what you wish for, because, then I was convinced I'd manifested this by this constant fear that there was going to be this roadblock to my success, that, to the final pinnacle of success, there was going to be this roadblock that would suddenly appear. And my reaction, though, was classic me. It was, right, okay, shit's hit the fan. We got 3 weeks to do this deal. Nobody's going to bed. And it was kind of pulled everyone together and say, right, come on, team, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. We were punch drunk most of the time, that sort of lack of sleep. And, but as I knew more, I overcame that doubt, I suppose, because I knew we were in a great place. I knew we'd done all our due diligence. I knew our work was exemplary. I knew our administration had been brilliant. I knew every single thing that we wrote and presented was absolutely accurate. There were no fudges. There were no oh, what if they find that out? There was none of that. I took my warranties as a founder incredibly seriously, and therefore there was no hint of anything. There were no skeletons that were going to pop out of the closet.
Yeah.
And so I knew we could do this. We had a clear run of it and we could do it. But yeah, it was like holding your breath. So it was like, I sort of joke and you know, I'm training for a flat race at the moment, and and I was talking to somebody, a jockey actually was watching me on this racing simulator, and after about a minute he said, "Joanna, breathe."
Oh God.
And you know, when I do a show jumping course, I'll reach the end and I realize I haven't drawn breath the whole time. When we reach a level when we are pushing ourselves to the limits, we can forget to breathe.
Yeah. No, that makes
Watching your child perform on a stage, you know, whatever it is, watching the final countdown to the rugby last weekend, you know, all of this, we stop breathing in anticipation of either there is going to be a dramatic result, we just don't know which side of the fence that's going to be on. Does this sort of make sense? I don't know whether I'm articulating this well at all.
You are. It's really useful to have these different perspectives as well, because I think what I want to achieve through the book is for people to read it and be able to relate to everything. They're not going to be able to relate to everything. There's some tech businesses in there, there's some product-based businesses, some service-based businesses, and people manage things differently. Some people are supremely confident or appear supremely confident in certain situations. Some people then retreat when they don't feel confident, or some people go, no, screw it, we're doing this, it is going to succeed. And it's really good to see those different takes on a situation. I think it's more useful to see those different takes than anything else. One last one for the book is about the specifics along a journey, because we can sometimes see this big shiny goal and then people can get overwhelmed by that goal. How important is it as someone behind a business to break down these big goals and big visions into tiny micro steps?
It depends on how your brain works, because for me, having a big vision made it easier. This is what we're going to do. How are we going to get there? We've got to sell more. We've got to have a great product. We've got to sell it, and we've got to get into retail. Okay, great. You are brilliant at getting people into retail. You're in charge of that. So it's finding the right skill set for the right role. It's very easy, I think, certainly for a new business or a young business, to just get bums on seats. And you are better having an empty seat than the wrong person in the seat. And as I do my work with By Women Built, where I talk to a lot of female founders, this is a common theme about how many of them are just learning the hard way that an empty seat is better. When you're looking at a fast moving business, a fast growing business, you need people who have got that vision as well. In their own area of specialization, they need to be able to have that confidence. They're kind of mini yous, but in their area of specialization, they need to have confidence. They need to have self-belief that they can do the task you've asked them to complete. Where it falls down is people that go into the minutiae and spend a lot of time in the weeds and not looking out to see the design of the garden.
Sure.
And you need to keep going back. And if you look at it like a garden, you know, it should be a garden in which many different flowers grow, because that's what makes a beautiful garden, and that gives it appeal to many, many people. And it's a fabulous skill set to be able to be in control of the day-to-day whilst seeing the vision. And those people that can do it are as rare as rocking horse shit. And when you've got them, they're golden. But there are a lot of people that think that they are like that, and they are absolutely not. And that is the problem we all face, sorting out who is really like that and who isn't. You know, you get it all the time. People, oh, I just wanted to leave a big corporate and I wanted to work for an SME. And, you know, it's not, I can't, you know, it's not for me working and just doing this. Well, it must be more than that. What have you demonstrated through prior to or during that career in a corporate that has shown that you have got intellectual curiosity, that you will challenge, that you will come up with ideas which haven't been done before? Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. You know, there are always roles within an organization where somebody's got to be over the detail, the minute detail. And that's, you know, obviously finance, supply chain, all the rest of it. My problem as a founder was I would probably be too much over the minutiae. I would be concerned about the little things when I should have been spending more time on the bigger picture. But I think that's a failing of many founders.
I think when it's well, it's, you know, you do want that detail to be perfect because it's a bit of you that's going out into the world.
Yeah, and there are, I mean, I think I've got huge amounts of OCD. As far as I'm concerned, you know, if you're going to do a job, do it really, really well. Having worked in finance for most of my career, I'd never come across people that didn't make sure everything was correct before it went out. I'd never come across people that would send something out with typos in it. I was horrified. I think I have incredibly high standards. Most founders have very high standards, and we should never be apologetic for that. That is what creates brilliance. You know, can you imagine your book going out with typos in it? You would be horrified because that's a direct reflection on you.
Yes.
And our businesses are a direct reflection on us. Now, you know, in this day and age, we're all picked to pieces by former employees, current employees, people that have never met us because of the way that we do things. But flip that over and say, right, well, actually, we do things in a way that gets things done. And maybe I think where the sparks fly is when there are people that don't get things done. Every day as a founder, all I could think about was every one of my employees, their mortgages that had to be paid, their families that needed to be fed. They were front and center. You know, if I knew we had an issue and and we were going to be below target, or there was going to be an influence on our cash flow, all I thought about was my staff, how it would impact them.
No, I can understand that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Joanna. It's been amazing to talk to you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to find out more about Joanna, head over to her own website, which is joannajensen.co.uk, or you can find her on Instagram at Joanna Jensen Official. And if you haven't picked up a copy of the book yet, go and have a look for it. Search You've Got This and my name, Rhea Freeman, and you can also find it in all good bookshops. See you soon.